It's the Franklin Show, live from Franklin, with America's favorite adopted pup, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Lloyd Wright Sinatra Seltzer, and his friend and favorite Franklin dog adopter, Michael Seltzer. I'm your announcer guy, Shotgun Tom Kelly. You better believe it, baby. And now, here's Franklin.
Oh, it's so great to be back in the studio. Thank you to my fabulous band and to you people out there. Oh my God. God bless you all. Look, and the people up there in the cheap seats. Thank you so much for being here on the Franklin Show, live in studio. It is a pleasure to be back and in the studio here with all of my friends, this great audience, the cast of characters, and we have an exceptional show coming up right after these words.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Okay, thank you everybody. Welcome back. What a pleasure it is to be doing the show up north, northern Michigan. We're in Charlevoix, one of my favorite places. And no matter where I am, I would like to say Franklin is with me, but he had a barking engagement today. You know, like I have speaking engagements. He sometimes has barking engagements. So I have his stand-in. You know this guy. He's been on the show before whenever Frank can't be here. But so we're going to proceed on. I have a wonderful guest on the show today. And I am very honored to have a very well-known and established Hollywood producer. And by the way, I don't really know this person all that well, so this is sort of a kind of a meeting that we hadn't necessarily planned, but she's been anxious to get on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest is Amanda Adelson, and Amanda is a producer and a writer and a creator and has been involved in some major movies in Hollywood. And the Bad Grandpa series, Johnny and Spike doing their crazy movies. You've been a part of that for how long now?
15 years almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
So okay. So and I've had some experience with Knoxville. And I don't think he likes me very much. But let me explain that, because I was on set when you guys were doing Bad Grandpa, and I was being a producer myself, I was giving notes, and apparently and by the way, in Hollywood jargon, giving notes is giving constructive criticism, suggestions to the producer. And that's what you do when you're on a movie set. And I don't think he appreciated my comments. That's my personal opinion. But you're closer, so you tell me.
I think in retrospect, he's come to really appreciate what you were offering him at the time. I think he just wasn't open to it at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think that's egos getting in the way. We've competed for awards before, and he's sometimes come out on the losing end, and I think he takes that seriously. I don't know Spike Jones all that well, so I don't know if there's any issues between us. Probably there are, because I offend a lot of people. So it's just it's what I do.
Think in that case, it's more of an inspiration type of situation, that he's really been inspired by your work over the years, so it's infused his work.
Wow. Well, I'm moved by that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we're here today, because I've been dying to get into a room with you. So if this is the way that we're doing it, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you, and there are a lot of people dying to get in a room with me and strangle me too, but that's for another day. So okay, so Amanda, what is it exactly that you're proposing here?
So, we go to a lot of studios and we hear what everybody's kind of interested in making and what the mandates are for all the studios. And we've been, talking to HBO, and they have been chasing this documentary idea with you and the Franklin Show, and really getting in there and documenting your life, really. I mean, I think they're really interested in understanding how your mind works and the inner workings of this show. And
as my wife often says, you ought to get your head examined, and I'll say, they'll find nothing up there, Alice. Well, that's another line from a 1950 show called The Honeymooners, but go ahead. Trying to get into my mind.
Those types of things. That's the iconography of this of the HBO show that they really want. They came to us and they said that we're the right producers for this. And I said I may have an in. I don't know. I am hoping that I could get into a room with you and really pitch this show and just tell you how much HBO would really love to do this. They're willing to throw some money at it. They're willing to throw some talent at it. Get some cameras in there. Really start going in on it.
Well, the only thing I'm concerned about is, I tell you what, I do not want any kind of a hit piece. I don't want any surprises. I don't want like a 60 minutes kind of a investigative report. The past is the past. I don't want to hear about, in my past, I was in the import leather glove business, and yeah, we sold gloves to O.J. Simpson, but that was a different time, and I don't really want to dwell on stuff like that, and anything about the island, so I visited an island. It wasn't Epstein, it was Gilligan's Island, but I and the other thing that I'm concerned about, Amanda, if I can be honest with you, is you come from a background working with Johnny Knoxville and Spike, and you guys do a lot of dick jokes, and we don't do that on the Franklin Show. We're a family friendly kind of warm and fuzzy. So I'm a little confused as to why you would think that this would be a project that your team would embrace, but sell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we want to respect you as an artist, and we can offer Final Cut. I've heard, I thought there may be more of kind of a dick joke sensibility that we could follow, but if you're not comfortable with that, I totally understand. We can take the dick off the table.
After Jeffrey Toobin, I don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. Okay. There are pictures floating around with me and Jeffrey. I'll have my crack producer James Dunn put that up because I have been around Jeffrey Toobin, and then after that whole thing, I wanted to disassociate. So there's that, and I just want to make sure that whatever we do is tasteful and family friendly, because I'm very proud of the work that we do in the village of Franklin. And there's some exciting new things coming that the public does not know about yet. There's talk about a Lululemon store and an Apple store coming. There's actually a proposal. The Comerica Bank building was sold. There's a proposal for the first 24/7 Walgreens store with a drive-through at 24/7, and the drive-through will start on Franklin Road at 13 Mile and snake through the historic district with cars lined up to get in and then come back on to Franklin Road. It's going to be the biggest, shiniest new Walgreens, and I'm kind of excited about that. Wow. So I don't want to do anything to tarnish the good work that we do in the village of Franklin, and that's most important for me.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, I think that's very important to us, and the idea of what's important to you, I think that resonates on a large scale level. For example, this Walgreens, and I think we can really showcase that passion you have, and we'll leave the island out of it.
Barking? Who's barking in the background?
that's Birdie.
I know Birdie. So Birdie should be on the show because Birdie would like to meet. Well, Frank's not here, so never mind. Okay. I love that you have a dog. I'll tell you what, if you would have brought your puppy on with you, it would have been a much easier close. Because
should I go get her?
Well, at this point it's too late. Because now you're just kissing up to me, and I don't like that kind of crap.
Listen, the studio really wants to make this happen. So whatever we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll consider it.
Yeah, please do.
I think the problem that we're going to have is egos, and to put my ego in a room with Johnny's and Spike's, there's not going to be enough room for everybody. That's going to be problematic. But
That's true.
and
That's true.
you seem to be very level-headed, which surprises me, given what you do and who you do it with. But wait, you're doing things with Jonah Hill right now, aren't you?
I am.
That's much more mainstream.
It is not as many dick jokes.
Do you have time to do this and to do what you're doing with Jonah Hill?
Yeah, I mean, I consider this both a passion project and, something that I think can be really lucrative. And I think Jonah's really behind it, and he puts on his producer hat when we take on other projects. And I think that this is something that he can, really get behind and really focus on. And he loves supporting other artists, especially in a space like this. And I think he's recognized that in this show and in you.
Does Jonah knows who I am?
Yeah, we talk about you in almost every meeting.
All right. What about, I know you work with Rob Lowe a lot too. And I am often confused with Rob Lowe. I was at a fundraiser and, President Biden came over to me and he said, Rob. And I said, no, that's not me. He said, I loved you in The Amazing Mr. Ripley. I said, that was Jude Law. That wasn't Rob Lowe. And I'm not Rob. But he continued to call me Rob that night. So that's another story.
I can see. I can definitely. You're not Rob though.
No, I'm not, and proud not to be. Although he seems like a nice guy, and whatever. Well, all right. Look, I'm going to take this under consideration because there are a lot of things coming my way right now. As you can imagine, we just won this big national award, and it's a huge honor. Best new talk show all over the country, hundreds of entries, and we won best of show.
Congratulations.
So I'm proud of that. Well, it's not me, it's mostly Franklin. He's the star of the show and I'm just the vessel, but,
he's definitely, that was a big part of the conversation, obviously. Yeah. We'll make, riders and separate deals for both of you. I mean, his may be a little bit on the higher side, but we'll figure it out.
Well, wait till you see our green room requests, because I got some problems here at my studio with issues in my set and my green room, and just a total lack of regard for the quality of the work that I do. Certainly, we're in a contract negotiation right now, so we'll figure all that out.
Yeah.
All right, Amanda Adelson, this has been an absolute pleasure. I am humbled, and that's fairly impossible for a guy with my ego, because what have I got to be humble about? I mean, let's face it, right?
True. So, very true.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for considering us.
I look forward to talking further with you, and we'll pursue this to whatever extent we can. And hey, if it works, great. And if it doesn't, no hard feelings. I wish you all the luck in the world with your project with Jonah Hill.
Thank you.
And whatever other things you guys dick around with.
Yeah.
And
literally,
we'll be in touch. My person or Frank will be in touch with your Birdie. You said, is it Birdie?
Birdie, yeah.
Frank and Birdie will have to have a sidebar.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody, stay tuned. We'll be back with more exciting, riveting television on The Franklin Show right after these words. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Look at these people. They're unbelievable.
Be right there. Wait. Use the shovel and bucket of water, remember? Drown, stir, drown, feel. Then make sure it's cool.
Where'd you learn that?
SmokeyBear.com. Brushed up on some tips before we left. Don't want to start a wildfire, right?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you. I have the distinct honor of introducing to you a man I've not met before, but I'm enthralled with his story. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest, Alan Bernstein. Alan, welcome to the Franklin Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am awestruck by your story, and I'll tell you why. Growing up as a kid in the 60s, I fell in love with Mad Magazine. I would race up to the drugstore as soon as I heard that there was a new issue out, and for years collected Mad magazines. And my life's ambition was to either write a Mad magazine, which I ultimately did. I created one called Mike Magazine. More about that later. But and go to 485 Madison Avenue in New York and meet that usual gang of idiots, as they call themselves, which I never was able to do.
No, you never got out there?
I never did. And for the life of me, I don't know why. But I obviously big fan. So when I heard that you had created this incredible documentary,
I started reading Mad at a very early age, which explains why right now I read on a 3rd grade level.
I mean, Mad Magazine is the only magazine that I ever read cover to cover.
I never did my homework, but I read Mad Magazine. I remember reading things and just in my mind going, whoa, whoa.
Mad Magazine was the first place that really mocked people hard.
I'd never seen that kind of humor before, that kind of irreverent comedy, and it really changed something in my brain.
They weren't afraid of anyone. Mad went after everyone.
It inspired a lot of people to want to make comedy.
Mad was a textbook for us, how to make fun of things.
Mad is not good. Our readers are not smart. Mad is cheap. The quality is poor. It's stupid. That's our brand.
Most parents didn't approve, and they thought it was corrupting their minds, and in a way it was, in a good way.
And I read about it in the press. One thing led to another. I found out that you were associated with Carrie Lazat, who's my executive producer here on The Franklin Show, which is the #1 show on cable, by the way. And I said, well, you got to hook me up because I have to have this man on my show. So I'm so happy to have you, and so happy that we share that in common. Tell me a little bit about you and how it led yourself to this documentary creation.
Well, I would say my entryway into Mad Magazine was really probably no different than just about anyone else who discovered it. For me, it was kind of a random happenstance. But once I had it and saw what it was, and then learned that it wasn't just a one-time thing, but it would come out regularly. I don't know if it's in my DNA to have that kind of collector gene, but it kicked in, and I became a huge fan of Mad, and both in reading it and in collecting it. I've spent a couple dollars, as you can see, on things over the years, and over time, my work, I went into the filmmaking field, and over time, as I tell it, I just kept waiting for someone better than me to make a documentary on Mad, and I, quite frankly, became tired of reading obituaries of the artists and writers who I grew up reading, right, and decided to do it myself.
What an unbelievable story. I mean, I am also one who follows my passions. For instance, this TV program that we've created. But I've got a lot of crazy hobbies myself. But that is a remarkable story. And so it's actually interesting that no one has produced a documentary about Mad Magazine. And so how grateful are we all to you? So where did you start the process? How did you decide you were going to do this? And what route did you take in terms of approvals? Is this an unauthorized documentary?
It is officially an unauthorized story of Mad Magazine, which means that we do not have the official, I guess, quote unquote, legal blessing of DC Comics, who runs Mad Magazine, but they know of us. And I mean, they were kind enough to let me interview many of the Mad employees at the Mad offices over a few different interviews. So I think in this regard, their silence has been a blessing, if you will.
I always say it's better to ask for forgiveness than for permission. So.
Yes, yeah, which is a wonderful phrase until the forgiveness isn't enough, and then the legal team is sent after you. But so far, that hasn't happened, and let's hope it stays that way.
Well,
and I don't see why they would, because this movie is nothing but a tribute and a celebration of Mad and everyone involved.
And I have to say, I have to apologize for not being there for the premiere.
I noticed you were missing. I did spot
at the Redford Theater, which is where I grew up. I mean, the first movies that I ever saw as a kid, and the Three Stooges were all at the Redford Theater. I grew up in Northwest Detroit, so had I been in Michigan, I would have certainly attended. So tell me how that evening went. How was that attended? Well,
it was terrific. I had a premiere in New York a couple months earlier, back in August, and that was special for a couple of reasons. One, it was the first true screening of the movie, and also we had a number of people who either worked at MAD or had family who had worked at MAD in attendance, and so that was kind of the trial by fire, and fortunately everyone seemed to really enjoy it, and I got many compliments, and that was amazing. But to bring it home, to show it in Detroit, to show it at the Redford, which is a theater that I've gone to for many years, and quite frankly was the very first theater I even thought of when there was even the possibility of showing it here, and to have so many family and friends and people who worked on it while we were in production. It was, as they say, off the hook. It was a great party. It was a lot of fun.
How long did it take you to produce the film?
My first interview was about 16 years ago. Jeez. So if we're going by the, I suppose, Gregorian calendar, 16 years. Yeah, so it took a while.
Who was the first interview?
The first interview was Al Feldstein, who was the editor of MAD from the mid-50s until the mid-80s. So nearly 30 years, he was the editor who really made MAD, put MAD on the map the way we came to know it and love it. He was in the Metro Detroit area. He was at Eastern Michigan University giving a presentation, interestingly enough, on the history of the Alfred E. Newman image. It was an exhibit at the at Eastern Michigan University, put together by actually a good friend of mine who was a fellow Mad magazine collector, and he had been kind of doing his scholarly approach to the history of the Alfred image, and he invited Al Feldstein in to talk about it. And while he was there, I was fortunate enough to sit him down and shoot my first interview. And it was run and gun. It was borrow a camera and a microphone, some lights, and go to it. And once we had that one done, it was kind of like, okay, we're doing this. Let's start making the phone calls.
So 16 years ago, you had the first inclination that this is what you wanted to do. That's fantastic.
Oh, and yeah.
Happened to come to Detroit, so that made it convenient. So who else among the major staff were you able to get to meet throughout the years that you were working on it?
The goal was to interview as many artists, writers, and editors who were still alive and interested in talking as possible. Whether or not they ended up in the movie, I don't want to say was irrelevant, but the main goal was to get their stories down and on video, and then go from there. But unfortunately, so many of them were interested in speaking with me. I think many of them, I don't know, in my research, I never saw many interviews with people other than the main staff at MAD and some of the true legendary artists like Al Jaffe. But and so my goal was to interview everyone. And if you were a MAD fan, from the artists, we interviewed Al Jaffe, we interviewed Jack Davis, We interviewed Sergio Aragones.
Wow.
And
all his margins. I love
his little margins, yes.
God.
And Mort Drucker we interviewed, who was the absolute king of the movie satire and the caricature, and Angelo Torres, who was right up there with him in doing the TV satires. And then from the writing side, we interviewed Arnie Kogan and Larry Siegel and Stan Hart and Frank Jacobs. And, we got the full mixin of the people who were there from the beginning. And,
did you get to Bill Gaines?
Bill Gaines unfortunately passed away in the early 90s, and I wasn't able to interview him. And there were a couple other artists who I was close to interviewing and just weren't well enough, and unfortunately passed away before I could get to them.
Dave Berg, by any chance?
Dave Berg. And see, Dave Berg and Don Martin and Antonio Prohias, who was the originator of Spy vs. Spy.
Right.
Those were the three artists and George Woodbridge was another artist who passed away in the early 2000s. And it was those basically four artists who once after the fourth one, that was the kick in the pants of like, these people are not waiting for me or anyone else to talk to them, unfortunately. So
right.
Those were the four that got me going.
Didn't Al Jaffe just pass away?
He did pass away a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And
he was close to 100 years old,
he was 102, I believe.
Wow.
He was doing Al Jaffe. For those not aware, he was the man behind the so many things, but mainly the fold-in at the back of issue of every Mad magazine.
Right.
There was a segment called the fold-in, and he was doing those up until he was 99 years old. So I think he holds the Guinness, don't quote me, but he essentially holds the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest working cartoonist.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was such a wonderful treat to pick up the next issue of Mad Magazine. And the satires were spectacular. The lighter side that Dave Berg would do, the Don Martin cartoons. I mean, so much a part of our childhood. And they would come out with those annual special editions multiple times a year. I think there were a number of different special editions. And even in recent years, although they were mostly reprints, every now and again, I would pick up a copy, and it would just be such a pleasure to read and to relive some of those great nostalgic moments that we all grew up with.
And that's kind of what's interesting about it is for people in our age range, and older, and definitely younger, Mad holds a nostalgic feel for people like us. It was instrumental in shaping our senses of humor, but also to a degree shaping our senses of politics and just getting around in the world. And that in a way is kind of lost. I think the nostalgia of Mad kind of is the first thing we go to. Oh, I remember growing up with that, or my brother or my sister read it when I was younger. But you can't forget why we read it. And it was hilarious. It was funny on every level, from the pure stupid to a degree of satire that is, I think, sorely missing. Except, I shouldn't say that. There's so many outlets now with the Daily Show and things like that. The Onion, it's still there, but it's not true. It's missing the voice that brought us to this, which was Mad. And yes, Mad is still published, and currently, as I understand it, a couple of years back, they went to an all reprint format. So the magazine was put out on a regular monthly basis or so, but it was all reprints except for a new cover and a new fold-in. And slowly over the last couple of years, they've been filtering in new material in each issue. And the rumor I heard is that the new issue about to be released has 10 pages of new material, to go along with the 30 plus pages of reprinted stuff that we've read already. But Mad is they're trying. They are trying.
If it's done in the vein that it was done in before, which was pretty much non-offensive, absolutely non-political, for the most part, but always fun.
I digress with that, but
yeah, always fun and satirical. All right, so now tell me about, we got to wrap this up, but tell me about the movie and how people are going to be able to see it. Those of us who were unfortunately not available to see it at the Redford Theater, where will we be able to see it in the future?
Well, as I understand it, we have a distribution deal in place. And what that means is, first and foremost, it will be streaming. And I'm told initially on Amazon Prime and Apple Movies. I don't know when. I don't know if the deal has officially been secured or signed. But I know it's heading to those streaming services. Hopefully it can expand to other services like your Netflixes and Hulu's of the world. I believe physical media, that ancient technology like DVDs and Blu-rays, are in the mix. And beyond that, anything else I tell you will be made up, because that's all I know so far.
All right. Well, the name of the movie is When We Went Mad. And do you have a website or a Facebook page or any?
We have a Facebook page. I recommend that Facebook page because the website is as high technology as early 2000s MySpace. It is not exactly moderated or monitored regularly.
All right, so we'll put up your
Facebook page.
We'll put up your Facebook page on the screen. Our technicians will get that on there so people can keep in touch and follow the progress of this great project. I am so grateful for you not only taking the time to be on the Franklin Show and sharing this, but for actually following your dream and getting it done. Kudos to you, Alan, for following your heart. And we need more people like you, especially on nostalgic things like Mad Max.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Alan, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. We'll be right back, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Franklin Show.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
And I am so grateful to this wonderful studio audience, to my band, to my announcer, to the great cast of characters that work so hard behind the scenes making this show a reality every week. We look forward to seeing you again next week, right here on The Franklin Show. Good night, everybody.